Sometimes life leads us down paths we don't understand. We lose something, face a crisis, or feel like everything is falling apart. But what if every challenge had a hidden purpose? What if every loss, every mistake, and every unexpected turn were all part of a much bigger plan? Buddhism teaches us that nothing is random. Every experience shapes us, teaches us, and brings us closer to a deeper truth. In this video, we'll explore how to trust life, accept what happens, and turn every obstacle into an opportunity. If you've ever asked yourself, why is this happening to me? Stay with us until the end. The answer might just change the way you see life forever, the hidden purpose of suffering. Pain is one of the most universal human experiences. No one escapes loss, failure, or disappointment. But what sets us apart isn't what we go through, it's how we interpret it. In Buddhism, suffering is not seen as a punishment or some cruel twist of fate. Instead, it's viewed as a disguised teacher. Even if we don't understand it in the moment, every hardship holds a hidden purpose. When we experience pain, our first instinct is to resist it. We want the problem to disappear, for things to go back to the way they were, for the discomfort to vanish. But what if suffering isn't here to punish us? What if it's here to transform us? Many of life's greatest lessons only arrive through pain. Just like fire purifies gold, difficulties strip away what's unnecessary and reveal our true essence. The Buddha taught that suffering is inevitable, but unnecessary suffering is a choice. The difference lies in how we face it. If we cling to pain, we prolong it. If we fight it, we make it stronger. But if we learn to observe it without fear, we discover that within every painful experience, there is a seed of wisdom waiting to be understood. There's a classic Buddhist story that illustrates this. A disciple complained to his master about how unfair his life was. He felt like everything was against him and nothing ever went his way. The master listened and then asked him to bring a handful of salt. He told the disciple to put the salt into a glass of water and drink it. The disciple took a sip and grimaced, saying it was far too bitter. Then the master took him to a lake and told him to throw the same handful of salt into the water. Afterward, he asked him to drink again. This time the disciple smiled and said the water tasted pure. The master then said, "Suffering in life is like the salt. It doesn't change. What changes is the container you place it in. If you want your suffering to taste less bitter, expand your perspective." This story teaches us a powerful truth. When we focus solely on our pain, it fills every part of us. But when we widen our view, when we understand that each experience is part of something bigger, the pain stops consuming us. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we can start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" So often, the hardest experiences in life lead us to our greatest breakthroughs. What once seemed like a tragedy can later reveal itself as a hidden blessing. Losing a job might push us to discover a more meaningful career. The end of a relationship might teach us the value of self-love. A personal crisis might open our eyes to a new way of living. Buddhism invites us to see suffering as an opportunity for growth. It's not about seeking pain, but about understanding that when it comes, it's not here to destroy us, it's here to teach us. Every tough situation forces us to develop new abilities: patience, resilience, compassion. It shows us the parts of ourselves that still need healing and gives us the chance to transform. If you want to put this into practice, the next time you face a challenge, instead of resisting it, stop and ask yourself, "What can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to grow? What is this pain revealing about myself?" Suffering is part of life, but it doesn't have to define us. When we accept its lessons, we stop seeing it as an enemy and start using it as a tool for revolution. In the end, every trial we face is just another step on our path toward awakening. No chaos, no transformation. Comfort is a state we all seek, but rarely do we stop to think about its effect on us. When life runs smoothly, when everything seems under control, we tend to settle. We cling to what we know, we avoid risk, and we choose the security of the familiar over the uncertainty of change. But in Buddhism, there is a clear teaching. Without chaos, there is no transformation. It's often the moments that shake us to the core that become the catalysts for real change. Crises, while painful, force us to wake up. They pull us out of our routines, push us beyond our limits, and make us question everything we thought we knew. Without those disruptions, we might never develop new skills, challenge old beliefs, or explore paths we would have otherwise ignored. Life, in its infinite wisdom, uses adversity as a tool for our evolution. Picture a seed. If it stays on the surface, exposed to sunlight and air, but never buried, it will never grow into a tree. It needs to be pushed into the darkness of the soil, break apart from within, and struggle upward toward the light. The process is difficult, but it's the only way for life to emerge. The same is true for us. Without difficult moments, without inner breaking points, we wouldn't have the chance to reach our true potential. There's a story in Buddhism that illustrates this perfectly. A disciple once asked his master why life had to be so hard. The master took him to a forest and pointed to a butterfly struggling to free itself from its cocoon. The disciple, moved by compassion, wanted to help, so he carefully tore open the cocoon to release the butterfly. It came out, but its wings were weak, and it could never fly. The master explained, the effort to break free strengthens the butterfly's wings. Without the struggle, it cannot fly. Just like the butterfly, we need the resistance of life's challenges to build our strength. Every difficult situation forces us to adapt, to grow, to find new ways to face what lies ahead. Without those moments of chaos, we would stay the same, trapped in our comfort zones. Buddhism teaches us to see chaos not as a curse, but as an opportunity. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we can ask, "What change is this trying to bring about in my life?" If we look back, most of our personal growth didn't happen in times of peace and stability. It happened during crises. Loss taught us the value of what we had. Failure made us more resilient. Unexpected changes pushed us down roads we never would have chosen on our own. Accepting chaos doesn't mean enjoying suffering. It means understanding that it's part of the process. When we stop resisting and start flowing with change, we find a strength we didn't know we had. Life isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about learning how to use them to our advantage. Every crisis is an invitation to evolve. If we trust the process, we'll see that after the chaos, a new version of ourselves always emerges, stronger, wiser, and more free. Dharma, the invisible order of life. There are moments when life feels out of control. We face obstacles we never expected. Things don't go according to plan, and we start to wonder if we're on the wrong path. But Buddhism teaches us something different. Nothing in the universe happens by chance. There is an invisible order guiding everything, even if we can't always see it. This order is known as Dharma. Dharma is the natural law that governs all existence. It's the quiet, perfect flow behind life's events, where everything happens at exactly the right time and for a specific reason. There are no mistakes. There are no accidents. Even the experiences we think of as negative are part of a much larger balance. Look at nature. The seasons change exactly when they need to. Rivers flow without resistance. Trees grow without rushing. Nothing in nature asks why things are the way they are. It simply follows its course. But as human beings, We struggle with this. We want life to fit our expectations, and when it doesn't, we suffer. There's an old Buddhist story that captures this well. A man was caught in a storm at sea. He fought against the waves with everything he had, trying to keep himself above water. But the more he struggled, the more he sank. Exhausted, he finally let go and allowed himself to float. At that moment, the current gently carried him back to shore. This is how Dharma works. When we stop resisting and trust the flow of life, we often find our way with much less suffering. This doesn't mean we should be passive or that everything is predetermined. On the contrary, Dharma invites us to act with awareness, to make choices that are aligned with our true nature. Many times, suffering shows up when we drift away from our purpose. Life sends us signals, and if we ignore them, we're met with obstacles that force us to realign with who we really are. Buddhism teaches that when something leaves our life, it's because it no longer serves our growth. When we are challenged, it's because we are being prepared for what's next. And when something is delayed, it's because the time isn't right yet. Dharma reminds us that everything happens in its own time. We can't force a flower to bloom, nor can we make the sun rise any earlier. The same is true for our personal journeys. We often want quick answers. We want the pain to end fast. We want change to happen now. But life has its own rhythm. Trusting that rhythm frees us from anxiety and frustration. When we begin to understand that everything unfolds for a reason, we stop seeing difficulties as punishments. Instead, we see them as opportunities. If something isn't working, rather than fight it, we can ask ourselves, what is this trying to teach me? Often we only understand Dharma with time. What looks like a loss today may later reveal itself as exactly what we needed. But if we can trust life's invisible order, we'll find peace, even in the midst of uncertainty. Each of us has a unique path. We can't compare our journey to anyone else's. What's right for another person may not be right for us. Listening to our inner voice, following our intuition, and embracing change with openness helps us walk in harmony with Dharma. We are not here by accident. Every experience, every person we meet, and every decision we make is part of a greater balance. When we trust that everything happens in its perfect time, we stop living in fear and start living with purpose. The illusion of control, learning to trust the flow of life. From the moment we're young, we're taught that we need to take control of our lives. If we work hard, make plans, and make the right decisions, we're told things will go the way we want. But sooner or later, life proves otherwise. No matter how carefully we plan, there are things that slip through our fingers. A relationship that seemed stable falls apart. A job we thought was secure disappears. Plans that looked perfect suddenly fail for reasons we can't explain. When things don't go our way, we feel frustrated, anxious, and afraid. We ask ourselves what we did wrong. Why did everything fall apart when we tried to do everything right? This is where Buddhism offers a powerful insight. Control is an illusion. Nothing in life is ever truly certain. We think we can create stability, but the truth is, life moves according to its own rhythm. The problem is that our mind craves certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants to know exactly what's going to happen and when. And when life doesn't deliver those guarantees, we panic. There's an old Buddhist story that explains this beautifully. A king once asked his 3 advisors why life was so unpredictable. The first advisor said it was all luck. The second said it was the result of past decisions. But the third said nothing. Instead, he led the king to a river and asked him to try to stop the water with his hands. The king tried, but no matter what he did, the water kept flowing. The advisor then said, "Life is like this river. You can try to control it, but in the end, it will flow the way it needs to. The only choice you have is to learn to move with it. Suffering often comes from clinging to how we think things should be. We tell ourselves we'll only be happy if we achieve a certain goal, if life stays exactly how we want it, if nothing changes. But life doesn't work that way. It never has. And the tighter we hold on to our need for control, the harder it becomes to flow with what's happening. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means understanding that while we can take action and make choices, we can't force life to follow our script. We do our best, but we release our grip on the outcome. In Buddhism, there's a practice known as Wu Wei. It translates to effortless action or non-doing. It doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means acting in harmony with the natural flow of life. Rather than trying to push against the current, we learn to navigate with it. Rather than resisting the inevitable, we adapt and move gracefully with what life brings. When we trust that life will take us where we need to go, anxiety begins to fade. We stop obsessing over what might happen tomorrow and start living fully in the present. We accept that there will be times of uncertainty, but we no longer see them as threats. We see them as natural and necessary parts of our journey. One helpful practice is to reflect on past moments when life didn't go as planned, yet something better emerged. Maybe a relationship ended and led to deeper self-discovery. Maybe a lost job opened the door to a more meaningful career. Maybe a failure revealed strengths you didn't know you had. When we let go of the illusion of control, we stop living in fear. We stop trying to manipulate every detail of life and instead trust our ability to face whatever comes. This doesn't mean life will be easy, but it does mean we can find peace, even in the middle of uncertainty. Life is not something we control. It's something we learn to live. When we stop fighting the natural flow, we discover a calm and clarity we didn't think were possible, the illusion of control, learning to trust the flow of life. From the moment we're young, we're taught that we need to take control of our lives. If we work hard, make plans, and make the right decisions, we're told things will go the way we want. But sooner or later, life proves otherwise. No matter how carefully we plan, there are things that slip through our fingers. A relationship that seems stable falls apart. A job we thought was secure disappears. Plans that looked perfect suddenly fail for reasons we can't explain. When things don't go our way, we feel frustrated, anxious, and afraid. We ask ourselves what we did wrong. Why did everything fall apart when we tried to do everything right? This is where Buddhism offers a powerful insight. Control is an illusion. Nothing in life is ever truly certain. We think we can create stability, but the truth is, life moves according to its own rhythm. The problem is that our mind craves certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants to know exactly what's going to happen and when. And when life doesn't deliver those guarantees, we panic. There's an old Buddhist story that explains this beautifully. A king once asked his 3 advisors why life was so unpredictable. The first advisor said it was all luck. The second said it was the result of past decisions. But the third said nothing. Instead, he led the king to a river and asked him to try to stop the water with his hands. The king tried, but no matter what he did, the water kept flowing. The advisor then said, "Life is like this river. You can try to control it, but in the end, it will flow the way it needs to. The only choice you have is to learn to move with it." Suffering often comes from clinging to how we think things should be. We tell ourselves we'll only be happy if we achieve a certain goal, if life stays exactly how we want it, if nothing changes. But life doesn't work that way. It never has. And the tighter we hold on to our need for control, the harder it becomes to flow with what's happening. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means understanding that while we can take action and make choices, we can't force life to follow our script. We do our best, but we release our grip on the outcome. In Buddhism, there's a practice known as Wu Wei. It translates to effortless action or non-doing. It doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means acting in harmony with the natural flow of life. Rather than pushing against the current, we learn to move with it. Rather than resisting the inevitable, we adapt and respond with grace. This is the path of wisdom. Not fighting what is, but learning how to meet it with clarity and calm. When we trust that life will take us where we need to go, anxiety begins to fade. We stop obsessing over what might happen tomorrow and start living fully in the present. We accept that uncertainty is part of the journey, but we no longer see it as a threat. We begin to see uncertainty not as a threat, but as a natural and necessary part of our journey. One helpful practice is to reflect on past moments when life didn't go as planned, yet something better emerged. Maybe a relationship ended and led to deeper self-discovery. Maybe losing a job opened the door to a more meaningful path. Maybe failure revealed strengths you never knew you had. When we let go of the illusion of control, we also let go of fear. We stop trying to manipulate every detail of life and instead trust in our inner resilience. This doesn't mean life will always be easy, but it does mean we can find peace, even in the middle of chaos. Life isn't something we control. It's something we learn to live with presence and grace. When we stop resisting the natural flow, we find a calmness and clarity we didn't know were possible, a peace that exists not in the absence of problems, but in our ability to face them with wisdom. Life is full of surprises. One moment everything feels steady, and the next everything shifts. A job is lost, a relationship ends, a sudden challenge arises that we never saw coming. Uncertainty is inevitable, but instead of accepting it, many of us fight it. We seek control, predictability, and security, but in truth, change is the only constant. Buddhism reminds us that peace doesn't come from eliminating uncertainty. It comes from learning to coexist with it. We can't stop life from changing, but we can choose how we respond. And through that choice, we find a steady peace, even when nothing feels certain. Imagine you are in a small boat, drifting in the middle of the ocean. If you try to control the waves, you'll wear yourself out. But if you learn to move with them, to go with the flow instead of fighting, you'll discover that you can get through even the roughest waters. Uncertainty is a lot like the ocean. We can't stop its motion, but we can learn how to sail. There's a story in Buddhist tradition about a monk who lived at the top of a mountain. One day, a villager rushed up the hill to warn him, "A huge storm is coming. You need to leave before it's too late." The monk calmly responded, "If the storm arrives, I will welcome it." The villager, confused, pleaded, "But you might die." The monk simply smiled and said, "If I die, I will accept death. If I live, I will accept life. No matter what happens, I will accept it." This doesn't mean we should be careless or ignore how to protect ourselves. What it means is that we let go of fearing what we cannot control. The fear of uncertainty often comes from not trusting our ability to face the unknown. But here's the truth. You've already survived every challenge life has brought you so far, and that means you are capable. That means you can handle what's coming next. Often, what we fear will break us is what leads us to our greatest growth. Losing a job might open the door to a more meaningful career. An unexpected ending might lead to a more aligned beginning. The unknown is not always a threat. It's often the birthplace of transformation. The end of a relationship can lead to deeper self-understanding. A sudden challenge can push us to grow in ways we never imagined. When life changes our plans, it may actually be clearing space for something more aligned, more meaningful. Sometimes, what feels like a setback is simply life making room for a better chapter. One helpful way to find peace in uncertain times is to pause and ask yourself, how many times has something that seemed bad at first turned out to be a hidden gift? Do I really need all the answers right now? Am I missing what's happening now because I'm too worried about a future that hasn't even happened? These questions bring us back to the present. Life is always moving forward, and fighting that flow only adds to our suffering. Accepting the unknown doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or goals. It means trusting that no matter what happens, you'll be able to find your way. Peace doesn't come from certainty. It comes from learning how to sit with uncertainty, with open hands and a steady heart. It's not about having every answer. It's about learning to live with the questions. You won't always know what tomorrow brings, but you can trust yourself to handle it. Nothing in life is completely certain, and that's okay. Because when you release the fear of the unknown, you unlock a quiet kind of freedom. You stop obsessing over what could go wrong, and you begin to truly live here and now, in the only moment that ever really exists. This is the path to awakening, not a perfect life, but a conscious one. A life where every experience, pleasant or painful, becomes a teacher. Buddhism reminds us that even our most difficult moments carry the seeds of transformation. Enlightenment isn't some distant goal reserved for saints or monks. It's found in the way we choose to meet each moment, with awareness, compassion, and trust in the unfolding journey. It's not something we have to search for outside of ourselves. Awakening is already within us, quiet, steady, and waiting to be seen. And every moment in life, especially the hard ones, invites us to wake up, to notice things as they truly are, not through fear, not through resistance, but through presence and clarity. Think about the times you grew the most. Chances are they weren't the easiest. They were the days that tested you, pushed you, and forced you to look within. That's the real path to awakening, not a sudden breakthrough, but a slow, steady journey of self-discovery. A deepening awareness of who you are and your place in this ever-changing world. When we stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What can I learn from this?" everything changes. We shift from feeling like victims of life to becoming students of it. Every challenge becomes a lesson, every setback a chance to grow. Pain doesn't disappear, but it gains purpose. So if life feels heavy right now, if you're facing something you don't fully understand, trust that it's part of your journey. Nothing is ever wasted. Every experience, no matter how confusing or difficult, is shaping you into the person you're meant to be. If this message speaks to your heart, I invite you to subscribe and become part of this community where we explore healing, awareness, and the wisdom of presence together. And I'd love to hear from you. What lesson from today's video touched you the most? Share it in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Thank you for being here. And until next time, stay mindful, stay open, and stay connected to the deeper truth within you.